Testing. It's good. Want to make sure anyone who wants to speak at open forum. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Sign up, please, Rob.
Yes.
Sam, I've already added you, Mary, and
Well, good morning, all. It is 9 o'clock on November 6th. Welcome to everyone here this morning. It's good to see people in the gallery for a change. Before we begin, I want to recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is a part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Six Nations of the Grand River, Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, Haudenosaunee, and the Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is part of who we are as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all its diverse people. I should acknowledge, or I should apologize to Councillor John. She was scheduled to do the land acknowledgement and I just launched into it. So I apologize. Joan, you can do it next meeting. I apologize. Anyway. Open forum this morning. Madam Clerk, do we have folks registered to speak?
we do, Mayor Milne. We have 4 people, Samantha Parent, Bonnie Black, Mary Redmond, and Robert Troche. Looks like Mary is going to go first.
Very good. Welcome, Mary. And the floor is yours.
In this unfamiliar setting. Hello, my name is Mary Redmond, and I live on Southgate Side Road 71. I'm here today for the sake of something important, and that's actually not for the sake of a building. I'm here for the sake of the people of Dundalk and area. Because a renewed Dundalk Town Hall can be a place where new residents start to feel at home, meet old timers, and all our youth can participate together in something positive in our community. The Dundalk Old Town Hall was financed originally by debentures of not less than $100 each, and that is $1905, purchased by residents. There are many people who live in Dundalk and District today that are equally invested in their community. This building has been put under the microscope. The professional engineer's inspection included what are called invasive inspections. There were plenty of specific items listed, but not even a word that raised a question about the structural integrity of the building. That's important because the Ontario Building Code says a building is unsafe when it is structurally inadequate for the purpose for which it is being used. In fact, of his long report, which compiled mechanical, electrical, structural, life and fire safety, architect Alan Avis said that he actually saw the goal would be to freeze the building in time. I'll talk next about vacancy. This township passed a vacant buildings bylaw, a positive step taken to encourage building owners to do much needed maintenance. And when our vacant building bylaw defines a vacant building, and it's a broad definition, we note that in clause C, it says that municipal buildings are exempt. But what's before you as a council is not just a report recommending demolition. Not on the agenda today, but in an offer submitted on Monday, you have a path. Oh, you have a path. Sorry, I lost my place. Oh, to get this building off your books and into the hands of the community. My closing point is that what everyone wants is a Dundalk Old Town Hall that is a safe place to be. That's a joint goal and not a battle. That's the side the public is already on. It's really only in respectful, mutual conversation, on-site meetings between the experts who will work on the project and the local authorities that a safe reopening will be possible, is possible. When it comes to grant sources, I personally spoke with a Heritage Canada officer renewing a conversation we had a few years back. She confirmed that we would be eligible for the Legacy Fund, up to $500,000 or half the cost. I also sat down last Wednesday with Stuart Reed of the Community Foundation Grey Bruce, who told me of a $35,000 capital grant that's available. There are other sources like Trillium as well. Back in 2017, I wrote my occasional Herald Advance column about the town hall. The headline was, "Giving the old town hall a chance at new life is only fair." Today, it feels really good to say that's a pretty widespread opinion right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Madam Clerk, is Samantha next? Oh,
Bonnie Black.
Bonnie. Welcome, Bonnie. Okay. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors, and fellow citizens of Southgate. My name is Bonnie Black, and I live on Victoria Street in Dundalk. I appreciate this opportunity to speak to you at this time to address my concerns regarding the future of the Dundalk Old Town Hall. Shortly after Team Town Hall received information pertaining to the township staff report suggesting demolition of the old, the Dundalk Old Town Hall, we felt needed to find out what our community feelings were regarding this matter. As of this past Sunday night, we started informing the general public. Now, I do apologize for the fact that we only had since Monday morning to print off people's responses, but as of 7 this morning, we have received 76 messages from concerned citizens desiring to have the Dundalk Old Town Hall saved from demolition. I found it interesting. We have, as of yet, not received any messages stating this building should be demolished. The email the councillors received last night from us has an attachment of messages we have received so far as of November 5th at 3:30 p.m. Any further emails received will not be in your email attachment, but a paper copy is in this folder, and I can PDF them to you at a future date in an email. To give a quick overview of the messages we have received, there are a number of citizens sharing wonderful memories of participating in the whole array of activities in the town hall, and not only participating in musicals, plays, but also attending the sellout performances that the Dundalk Little Theatre was famous for. And they feel the demolition of the building would eliminate the unique personality and character of our town. What I found intriguing were the number of letters from new families, new residents who have moved to Dundalk and desire to become involved in the community, especially activities in the performing arts for their children to become involved in, and for the town hall becoming a hub where our diverse community come together to work and play together. There is communication from a local dance instructor that must travel out of town to host annual recitals. Local musicians and bands who must look out of town to book venues for their shows. The president of the LP Productions also wrote in. She has in the past seen a number of our plays and musicals and is familiar with the layout of our auditorium. LP Productions are presently using the Shelburne Theater. Their musicals consist mainly of children, and the majority of their performances are sellouts. A great number of the children, plus president and some of her staff, all live in Dundalk, and they would much prefer to have the Dundalk Old Town Hall as their home theater. We have also received messages from people offering to volunteer their time to help fundraise, and tradespeople offering their time with renovations. In conclusion, I would like to share an excerpt from one of the emails I received, and you will find a copy of it in the PDF file, and there is a paper copy I will hand in. And then individual states as follows. This historic building is more than just bricks and mortar, and it is a valuable part of our town's identity. The Old Town Hall has served many purposes over the years, from hosting town meetings to holding community events, local concerts, musicals, plays that have been meaningful to many. Preserving this building helps keep our community story alive. The Old Town Hall has been a place where people have gathered for generations, making memories and building connections. It is a landmark to the town, and removing it would be destroying a piece of its history. Restoring the Old Town Hall would not only protect our heritage, but could also provide a space for arts, culture, and community events. This can bring people together, create local pride, and boost our town's appeal to visitors. Other towns have found great success in restoring similar buildings, turning them into vibrant community centers that serve everyone. This is what is most important in a small community. I urge you to consider the demolition plans and think about the long-term value of preserving this historic building. By working together, we can find solutions that keep the Dundalk Old Town Hall standing for generations to come. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Bonnie.
I have a folder here. Hand it in.
Yeah. You could give that to the clerk. Thank you very much, Bonnie. Okay, who's up next? Lindsay?
Samantha Parent.
Samantha? Welcome, Sam. If I could be so informal, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, council staff and members of our community, including those watching online. My name is Samantha Parent, and I am chair of Dundalk Team Town Hall and a downtown Dundalk homeowner and resident. I'm honored to be joined today by my two children who are heading into school late this morning because not all education happens inside a classroom. I was a new resident 10 years ago, knowing absolutely no one when I moved here, which is wild to think about, honestly. I moved here from the city of Barrie. I've come to know and love this town and all its quirks and fun characters, its rich history and stories. I believe in the goodness of the people here. I am proud to say that Dundalk is my home and the place that I've chosen to raise my children. It is a place I will stand up for and fight for. I am very passionate about the vibrancy and well-being of our community, which I believe is sustained by access to connection building activities through play, meaningful conversations, working together for common causes we believe in, laughing, and creating the memories we make that become the stories we tell. I am so incredibly grateful for the support our community has shown towards our efforts so far to save the Old Town Hall. They aren't just names on paper, they're all people who are invested in our community. And it's so moving to join hands on this effort. With so little notice, former and current residents have rose up and spoken. And the best part is I had no doubt at all that they would. To all of you, my sincere thanks. Today, I have a few items to address to council. Firstly, I would like to thank you for your support and consideration of our offer. We are moving fast as a team. I had the opportunity to tour the facility on Monday after dropping off our offer to Township. Accompanying me was members of staff, my husband, who is a general contractor, and our engineer, Heiner Phillip of Southwinds Engineering, who has so generously offered his engineering to our team for free moving forward, because he too supports this building being saved. His feedback is that it's a beautiful building in good shape, in better shape than many buildings in this community, and he gives our foundation a B+. The upstairs theater is currently taking on water damage, which is relatively new, from a roof that needs some small repairs that has not been repaired in a timely fashion and left to just take on water, which is very disappointing to see. While it is currently not a large concern, it needs to be immediately addressed by way of stabilizing the roof with tarps and blocking until such a time as the repairs can be done. While we negotiate the purchase of this building, we respectfully ask Township permit our engineers team to tarp off the concerns on the roof with their insurance to mitigate any further damage. We would like to prevent this issue from becoming a larger issue for the community to have to fundraise for. Our second ask is that council consider reasonable options to secure the building from unwanted entry, such as locking it, and avoid putting a target on it by boarding it up. Boarded up buildings attract vandalism and other troubles, which we sadly have seen in communities around us. My last asks are simple. Do not demolish this beloved building with endless potential, especially in light of the exponential growth our community is facing. Joni Mitchell and our community have already spoken on that. And please remember that it is not Team Town Hall versus anyone. We are here volunteering our tails off because we are invested in the place we call home, to work with council and staff, community groups and organizations, Southgate businesses, and everyone else for a thriving community. I do believe in the end, we want the same things, a place for people of all ages and backgrounds to connect and find a place they belong. Let this be the place. Let the time be now. Work with us in good faith. We can do this together. For the community, by the community, save the Dundalk Old Town Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Samantha.
Robert Troche.
Welcome, sir. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, all. I'm very impressed with what I've heard, and I think I have something very minor to add. I represent the JCI here, and we have been using the Old Town Hall on a weekly basis, 3 hours a week to play pool. It's a very small program, but it has touched a lot of people. We started out hopefully bringing children, teaching them the game of pool, feeding our league. Pool is very important in Dundalk. So that didn't work. Children didn't come. But what we got were senior citizens. Gentlemen who are retired, ladies who have a bit of extra time. And on Wednesdays, they would come out for 3 hours, shoot some pool, get some lessons, improve their game, have some fun, and create friends. And, you know, some of the stories are wonderful. We have a gentleman that came out, he's in his 80s. He told us he hadn't played pool since he was 25 years old. He hadn't picked up a stick. He didn't always remember what suit he was shooting. He didn't always remember the game, but we were there just to give him time, let him play, let him have his time on the table. He shook a bit, but he's shot the odd 8 ball and he was thrilled. I mean, it's a game. Sure, it's a game. It's a small program. It affected maybe 20 people, but they were thrilled to come out every Wednesday. They look forward to it. It's just a small example of what that building can be used for. I mean, it could be used for the drumming lessons that the JCI did there. There was all kinds of instruments we had there. There's computer desks. It's a very, very small part of a big story, but an example of what can be done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Lindsay, anyone else signed up?
No, that was everybody.
Okay. Well, I do want to thank all the speakers for their time and their information they shared with us. It's heartening to see the support for the facility. Absolutely. Okay, we'll move on with our agenda. I need a confirmation of the agenda. Oh, Madam Clerk.
Just before we get mover and seconder for confirmation, I'd like to request that the agenda be amended to add an additional item to the closed session meeting. The exception being section 239(2)(c) of the Municipal Act, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality, and that the subject is a land sale update. And I'd like to request that item 9.2.1, staff report CL 2024-037, the Dundalk Old Town Hall sale update and disposition, be moved up to follow directly after the closed session meeting.
Excellent. So the amendment is whatever she said.
Paul has put it on the board behind you.
Okay, Barb, you're moving that amendment? Or you're moving them? Yeah, the amendment. Okay, Jason seconds. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? That is carried. Now we're back to receiving or confirming the agenda as amended. Someone move that, please. Jason, seconded by Joan. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest related to any item on today's agenda? Nope, not seeing one. If one should arise, of course, you can declare it at any time. Delegations and presentations. We have Schoolie Mitchell of Cost Reduction Experts Delegation. Neil Brady is here. Is he?
Yes.
He's online.
He is online.
Welcome, Mr. Brady. The floor is yours, sir.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Mayor and members of council for giving me the opportunity to explain what we do and how our service is a great fit for municipal government. My company specializes in expense reduction consulting, and over the years, we have become experts in working with and for municipal government across the country. We have provided our services to 15% of all municipalities in Ontario. Our main 4 areas for delivering cost savings have traditionally been telecom, shipping, waste, and merchant services. But in the last 5 years, we have added 10 more cost categories, some of which have proven to be a good match for municipal government. I'll touch on those in the presentation in a moment. The main thing to keep in mind about our service is that it's 100% provided on contingency. This means we are only paid out of the savings that we can produce for our clients. If we do not find savings or you decline what we recommend, there is no cost. If we do find savings and the client approves what we recommend, we implement those new lower rates with your vendors and share in those savings for a period of time. To summarize, we ensure our clients are getting the best business services at the best price, all while identifying billing errors, eliminating redundancies, and improving efficiency. I believe you have the presentation up on the screen here, although it looks a little blurry here on my end. Can you see it okay on your end?
Yeah, each counselor has that presentation in their agenda package.
Okay, perfect. On the page that's showing on the screen there, just to give you an idea here in the second paragraph, we typically deliver a 27 to 28% yearly reduction in spend. Normally, 90% of the time, we can do this without the client having to switch any vendors. Moving along here, we can help you by decreasing costs, increasing quality of service, negotiating lower rates with your current providers, and as I mentioned before, identifying and recovering billing errors. And just below that, our reports include the analysis of the following services. So these are all the categories that we have the ability to review for cost savings. So we have telecom, credit card processing, waste disposal, fuel, compressed gas, small package shipping, electronic logging devices, and the big one this year with municipal government has been software as a service. So that would be Microsoft costs, Adobe, and Google. And moving along here, you take no risk. We either save you money and self-fund our fees, or give you a no-cost validation that you're receiving the best rates, for the existing services that you do have. If continuing on in the presentation here we go. Thank you. These are just some examples of some other towns we've worked with, just to give you an idea on percentages here. Penetanguishene was 23%. We found savings at all 15 of their locations. Municipality of North Perth, which I believe is somewhat close by, 42% savings after 1 year. We've done CPA Ontario. Advent Healthcare is a nonprofit in North Toronto. Salvation Army Ottawa, 40% on waste. If we move on to the next slide, this is just sort of the steps that, basically that we need to get up and running to provide this review for any municipal government. It's about a 2-hour time frame for, with staff that we need to sort of get us the information we need to do our review. Moving along to the next slide. All these next few are basically testimonial letters from other towns, cities, counties, districts that we've worked with. So Port Colborne, District of Muskoka, Port Hope, Timiskaming Shores. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, sir, for that presentation. Indeed, does council have any questions? Martin, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. On the
Morning.
page 15, it says oftentimes without any need to switch vendors. Well, that's a vague word, because the opposite of that is that usually not. Like with telecommunications especially, if we change vendors, how is it being saving if possible fees for canceling that subscription to that vendor, mainly telecommunications?
Yeah, that's all taken into account. So, generally with a town, we'll give them 3 options if we're reviewing their telecom. So scenario 1 would be savings with the existing provider. Scenario 2 would be savings with an alternate provider, and scenario 3 would be savings with another alternate vendor. And then the town picks what works best for them. So, but it would be factored in. Like, so for example, if a town was, let's say they were 3 months into a 5-year term on Bell Canada, that's not going to be a time that we can make a recommendation for a vendor change. So in that case, there wouldn't be one. So we basically look at the big picture and, the entire cost of it all. So if it makes sense financially and the client is willing to or open to a vendor change, then we will recommend that as one of our options. But generally, we try to stick with working with the incumbent vendor, unless the town tells us they want to switch.
Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. I thank you, Mr. Brady, for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
We
You
do
too.
need a motion to accept or to receive the delegation. Joan and Jim, any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes of the October 16th meeting of this year, the open and closed session. Someone care, Jim, second by Martin. Thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, we are going to go into closed session, so I'll read the motion. Be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at 9:27 in order to address matters relating to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically risk mitigation.
And proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, subject being a land sale update.
And that all those required remain in attendance. So, someone care to move those? Martin and Barb. Discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. So for those that haven't been here before, we have a meeting room over here. We're going to go in there and do our closed meeting. So you're welcome to stay in the chambers. We'll try to make this as quick as we can to come back out into open session. Thank you, Holly. Okay. We're now back in open session and I can confirm that we only discussed those matters that were on the closed meeting agenda. Yep, we have a motion to be considered coming out of closed session. Madam Clerk, would you read that motion, please?
Certainly, Mayor Milne. Motion coming out of closed session, which was for the item, the
9.1.
acquisition or disposition of land. Be it resolved that council receive the offer to purchase of the Dundalk Old Town Hall from Dundalk Team Town Hall as submitted, and that council direct staff to meet with the representatives of Team Town Hall to discuss their offer and plan for purchase of the building and return to council with further information.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a mover for that? Barb, seconded by Joan. Did I see your hand up? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Okay, so Madam Clerk, that motion is in response to the 9.2.1 report, correct?
Not specifically, so that was the motion coming out of closed session. So
Right.
now, since
Gonna
we amended
consider-
the agenda, and staff's recommendation is just to refer the report back to staff.
Right, okay. So we will consider that now. Motion to refer the report back to staff, receive it and refer it back, or just refer back. Jim moves.
Yes.
Jason seconds. Any discussion? Barb?
Through you, there will be some security addressed, correct?
This is just talking about referring this staff report
Okay,
back,
thank you.
though.
Okay, all those in favor? That is carried. All righty. We'll go to reports of municipal officers, and the first is the CEO, Dina Lundy. She has two reports there. The first one being organizational review position implementation. Is there a mover for that, please? Martin, second by Barb. Thank you. Dina, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Thank you. This report is before you today to bring forward this position another time. Staff are not looking to bring it forward early. This position is approved to be brought forward into the 2025 budget. So we're asking that we advertise at this point for filling the position in 25.
Thank you, Dina. Any questions from council? Seeing none, I'll call the question. You have a question?
Oh, no,
Jason?
sorry.
All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried.
I did have yes, sorry, I've asked for a recorded vote.
You want a recorded vote? By all means, Madam Clerk, please.
A recorded vote has been called for staff report CAO 2024-020 organizational review position implementation. Mayor Milne,
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Joe
Yes.
Councillor Rice,
No.
Councillor Ferguson,
No.
Councillor Shipston,
Yes.
Councillor John, Councillor Singh Soares.
No.
By a vote of 4-3, that's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And the next report is regarding external policy reviews. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Martin. Thank you. Dina.
Thank you again. This report is to bring a lot of our policies that deal with local governance into sync with each other and to bring them up to date and ensure that they are compliant with legislation. The cost is $12,000 and we would be doing this over a long period of time. It would include individual interviews of council, workshop, and significant work. At a fairly low cost for all of these policies. So, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Dina. Are there any questions from council? Martin, please.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. Dina, with this review, will it be getting do we have any redundant policies that we can just say we don't need that anymore, get rid of it, doesn't suit now? Because most bylaws can be organic, they should move. But is there anything in there we just get rid of?
Many of
That's the
these
point.
are required policies. However, the closed meetings policy could be rolled up into the procedural bylaw. So that's an option there. But most of them are required policies.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Monica, please,
Hi.
go ahead.
Thank you. Just through you, Chair, to CIO, with regards to this particular item in terms of transparency and community involvement. I'm going to take a look at the proposed review for the $12,000 price tag part that would impact the current budget. Before approving, it's worth considering whether the expense is essential right now, and if there would be a possibility to begin by having this addressed through more engagement with the community and seeking their feedback on governance issues. So this approach would be more cost effective and would ensure that any policy updates reflect the priorities of our residents. Is this something that would be more of a prudent approach that could be either, delay this review until budgetary concerns are resolved, or to offer a preliminary internal review to identify these specific gaps, especially since we just approved a very high paying position?
Dina?
Thank you. These aren't the typical policies that are involved with the public. These are local governance policies, and you require a person with expertise and can ensure that the Municipal Act and other legislations are being adhered to. Mary Ellen Bench is a highly respected municipal lawyer with significant experience, both City of Mississauga, Toronto, and other municipalities, and privately as a municipal lawyer, and is also an integrity commissioner. Those are the qualifications that we tend to look for, especially when we're talking about the council code of conduct. It's not something that is really about the residents. It's about local governance and following municipal act and legislation.
Thank you, Dina. Barb, you have a question?
Through you, Mayor Mill. Thank you.
Sorry.
Nope, that's quite all right. Thank you. So specifically the council code of conduct, the council staff relations, the employee code of conduct, like those and the procedural bylaw, they were all reviewed by our integrity commissioner. In fact, the council code of conduct was, I believe, written in collaboration with the integrity commissioner. So I'm not sure why we have another lawyer integrity commissioner reviewing what has already been created by our own integrity commissioner. Why isn't our integrity commissioner reviewing these policies?
Dina?
Yes, one of the reasons is with a different municipal lawyer and integrity commissioner, they look at it from a different lens. And in my experience with Miss Mary Ellen Bench, she does look at how your code fits the community, which is something that our code doesn't do right now. These policies were not looked at in conjunction with each other to align with each other. Some of them are very old, and they do need to be reviewed, particularly delegation of powers. And we want to make sure that they all fit together. It doesn't mean that all of them will be significantly changed. It means that we need a full lens look at all of the policies to ensure they align with each other and they meet legislation. And we have a different lens looking at the code of conduct. And Ms. Mary Ellen Bench would reach out to our current integrity commissioners.
Follow up?
So we hire an independent integrity commissioner to consult with our current integrity commissioner. And who pays the bill for his or her principal's integrity to be consulted on a policy that they wrote?
They wouldn't necessarily, my apologies, they wouldn't necessarily be consulted. She would reach out to let them know that if they had any concerns, but we should not incur any costs from principal's integrity.
One final question.
Sure.
I go back to my original question. If we're hiring an integrity commissioner lawyer to review our policies, why wouldn't we hire our own integrity commissioner who's already on retainer and is a integrity commissioner of record?
Dina?
There are several policies here. Our integrity commissioner would not review all of these policies, being an independent. And they wouldn't do it for this cost.
Joan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair, Dina, my question was, how often do we renew these policies and why are we renewing them now? And can it be renewed another time instead of putting it to a cost of $12,000?
And I'll go back to, they need a view of all of the policies together to assure they fit together and align with each other. That's why we're looking at them collectively. Capping the cost at $12,000 is a very good cost. I'll remind council, we spent about $6,000 on the K-9 bylaw itself. We review policies. There are several that need review. This is a start. We have many that need review that we'll keep bringing forward when time permits. But some of these policies are over 10 years old. A lot of legislation changes in 10 years. So we need to make sure that we're following legislation and policy and bringing these all together for this cost over 2 budgets. So this year we would start the process, and to be finished prior to the election season is the goal, to have this all in place and up to current legislation before we hit 2026.
Okay, Joan? Thank you, Dina. Jason?
I guess Barb and Joan kind of stole both of my question, but same thing. I guess I don't even really understand the whole report. It just seems to me like another consultant, $12,000 to something we could probably figure out ourselves or with our own integrity commissioner. It's just paying a consultant from outside that knows nothing about our community. I get they know the municipal end of it, but I don't know. It just seems like too much.
Thank you. I have Monica first, and then I'll come back to you, Martin. Monica, please.
Yes, thank you. Just further to the comments that were already stated. So when we're just taking a look at internal resources and staffing capabilities, our existing council and staff do have extensive knowledge of our procedures and policies, and possibly we should consider evaluating whether we can conduct a preliminary review internally. This would allow us to identify specific issues that may actually need external expertise, potentially reducing the overall cost. And just a little bit further to that, when we take a look at limiting the need for external expertise, what was just said by Councillor Rice and the others, I do understand that consultants do bring perspectives externally. However, our policies have been reviewed relatively recently, some as recently as 2019 and 2022. So an external review may not reveal possibly at this point significant changes, and a simpler targeted review by staff might be sufficient to address any key issues. That's pretty much where I'm standing on that right now.
Thank you. Martin?
Yeah, thanks. Dina, you said it'd be gonna be spread out over time. Which one of these would you be doing first? Like, would it be 2022, or would you start from 2008 and work chronologically?
What Ms. Bench has suggested is that we start likely with delegation of authority because it is so old, but she would start with individual interviews this year of council members, key staff members, and getting a sense of what we need to do with all of these policies. And then we would tackle the older ones, but I would leave that to her. And to the point of internal resources, we don't have the internal resources. That's why some of these policies are as old as they are. We're struggling to get policies up to municipal legislation.
Barb?
So you mentioned the K-9 bylaw, but we didn't know that that was under review until the bylaw person that you hired came and presented. That was $6,000. I ask, why is this is operational? Why are we required to authorize this review? And what is our policy on single sourcing? I guess I still come back to why our integrity commissioner, who is a lawyer, wouldn't be our first point of, consultation before going outside to someone who we haven't put out for an RFP or, and I actually appreciate the fact that staff don't have time to devote to reviewing policy. And if it can help us function better as council and staff, I'm in favor of it, but I still struggle as to why we're going to another integrity commissioner when we have one on who is already approved as our integrity commissioner.
Dina?
Thank you. Yes, the policy is $5,000 and we were quoted $5,000 for the canine control bylaw. And it required specific expertise as well to get into place. Our integrity commissioner only deals with the code of conduct, the council and committee code of conduct. They will not deal with the other policies.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, Dina, I believe if we hire the integrity commissioner, he and she are on a retainer, but they do charge an hourly rate. Yeah, over and above that. Yeah. Okay, just to be clear. Any other questions? Okay, call the question. All those in favor?
Recorded vote.
Absolutely. Madam Clerk, please.
A recorded vote has been called on staff report CAO 2024-021, external policy reviews. Counselor Rice,
No.
Counselor John,
No.
Deputy Mayor Dobrein,
Yes.
Counselor Singh Soares,
No.
Counselor Shipston,
Yes.
Mayor Milne,
Yay.
Counselor Ferguson.
No.
By a vote of 4-3, that has lost.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Council. Okay, moving on to Clerk Lindsay. No, we've already dealt with that one. Strategic Initiatives Officer Graham Taylor. Welcome, Graham. You have a report here regarding communications and community engagement strategy. Final report on that. Is someone going to move that, please? Martin, thank you. Seconder? Barb. Graham, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, this is the culmination of the work that I had presented to you at I believe it was in late September. And this is a kind of a final public facing version of that document. It's meant to be simplified. It's meant to demonstrate our commitments on a communications and engagement perspective. And that's why it looks a little bit different than what you've seen on this file before, but this is the public facing version that we're hoping to present to the public on this work so far. I will say that I've received a comment that it doesn't involve so much involvement from extra partners such as media. One thing that I chose to do deliberately on that is not to count on and bank on external sources helping us with our communications efforts, but rather treat that as a boost that we get when we get it, and just to not count on something in the long term that we don't have control over as an entity. That's all that I would say to that. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have on this.
Thank you, Graham. Are there any questions from council? Not. You have a question, Barb?
More of a comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, and thank you, Graham. I had a question and then it was answered in the actual presentation, whereby my original question was print newsletters go out with tax bill. It doesn't say it at the beginning, but at the end it says anyone who wishes to register, like a tenant who's renting a building who wouldn't get the tax bill, can register to receive that same newsletter. So you answered my question at the end. And I do appreciate that local media is something that we need to nurture and celebrate. But we can't count on the article or the promotion unless we're actually submitting an advertisement. So I appreciate that context, but that we recognize how important it is.
Go ahead, Graham.
Thank you. Yes, and I believe you and I attended the same session that harped on the importance of local media at the Association of Municipalities Healthy Democracy Forum. So it certainly gave us a positive perspective of the good work that local media does, but also that, you know, when it comes to communications, we kind of control our own destiny, and to make sure that we're doing all that we can before we start depending on externals to help us. But nevertheless, you know, we're certainly hoping to utilize tools like media releases, all those positive things that engage with local media, both print, digital, and through other mediums as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And I know that Mary is just overjoyed to hear that we're very supportive of local media. Yep, I hear you. Pennies from heaven. Any other questions on the report? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Next report from Graham is regarding the Township of Southgate 25th anniversary celebration for next year, 25 and 25. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Martin. Thank you. Graham.
Thank you. Yes, so this is kind of a follow-up from the previous report from the CAO about the options for observing and celebrating our 25th anniversary as a municipality. One thing you expressed interest in as a council is incorporating our current logo and design templates into a kind of a refreshed version of our 25th logo. And so that's what option 2 in this report provides you. Option 1 is what you were presented with at the previous meeting. That's kind of a simplification of what we're presenting today, and we hope to get your feedback on these 2 options in that regard.
Very good. Thank you, Graham. Are there any discussion? Barb, and then Martin.
Thank you through you. And thank you, Graham. And thank you, staff, for listening to our suggestion. I do like the continuity of having our current thumbprint tree unity incorporated. Your report indicated that it would be black and white. But if it was digital correspondence, would it be color? So I'm saying if anything print or where it might have an extra cost, but if it was a digital communication, would it have color incorporated?
Graham?
Yeah, through you, definitely where it's digital and presentable in that format, we would look to have the color. However, for things like printed merchandise where say we put it on when I worked in municipality Meaford, we had municipal branded yo-yos. Not saying we're going to go to that as part of this, but that's just an example I'll use. We put that logo in all white, just so that it cuts down your cost substantially, and B, that it prints better ultimately that way. But yeah, that's certainly what the plan is anywhere where we can display it in its full color and dignity. We're certainly hoping to do that. Just for some, this is just kind of a warning that in some settings it will just be a single color, be it all black or all white or maybe all green for that matter. Something just to keep in consideration for that.
Thank you, Graham. And if we did buy yo-yos, we can count on them coming back to us. Tough crowd. All righty. Any other questions on the report?
Yes.
Martin. Oh, Martin and then Monica. Martin.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing about the color and the printing costs, but just more of a comment.
Yeah.
Branding is all about consistency, so I like the fact that the old logo was put in there. So
Sure.
that's it.
Thank you, Martin. Monica, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just through you to Graham. Just had a few quick questions. One was, have we considered, I really liked option 2 as well, same reasons that everyone already mentioned. Has there been a consideration to include a tagline, something along the lines of celebrating 25 years of community or 25 years growing together, just to reinforce the community aspect of the anniversary? The simple addition could make the logo feel celebratory and add meaningful message.
Graham.
Yeah, through you. We haven't given that consideration as of yet. That is something that we could look to include at a later date or include on a special basis on products as well. That's just something going forward in needless to say, we can change it based on the setting as well, but we haven't thought about like an official tagline or slogan or whatever for it. But definitely that is a good point raised as well.
Sure, just a follow-up.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So just again, I love what you just mentioned because that was my next thing I was going to say was about considering limited edition branded merchandise for this. So I think you just mentioned that you were already thinking about doing something along that way, whether it be like reusable bags, pins, mugs, things like
Yo-yos.
that. Was that? What was that, Chair?
Carry on, carry on.
Okay, all right. I'll watch the playback. But anyhow, the other thing was just a real quick thing because you're our communications guy for highlighting historical milestones of Southgate and exploring opportunities for resident involvement in the celebrations. While we didn't have too much resident involvement in terms of the actual logo itself, I was wondering if it'd be possible to have organize something where residents could submit photo display or a memory wall where community members can share their favorite Southgate memory and things like that. And then also just leading up to the date, would we be kept abreast as to visual timeline or a storytelling campaign featuring key milestones over the last 25 years? So, I mean, of course, I'm in this field, so that's why all these, all these things are coming to, birth in my mind. So I just was going to leave that. I'm sure you're already going to be working on things like that, but I'd love to hear something to that regard.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the CAO's report kind of mentioned that there would be some room for some of that kind of asynchronous observation of the milestones. So things like maybe like a scrapbook or a digital scrapbook or a yearbook kind of thing. There could be obviously wherever it's observed at an event or whatever, there will be photo displays and kind of design elements incorporated into that. But this was just focused on the very high level, like what's a very basic roadmap of what we're planning to observe and how we're going to observe it. So definitely any ideas anyone has, frankly, don't be shy to share them by all means. But yeah, that's kind of just the high level overview of what we're looking to do in terms of, there was the rough calendar that was provided, some opportunities for some asynchronous engagement with businesses, community organizations, et cetera. And then this branding, which will be kind of incorporated into the whole thing itself.
Thank you, Graham. Any other questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Graham. Moving on to Public Works Manager Jim Ellis's report. I see John is on the screen. John, are you taking these reports? Didn't hear. I can't hear you, John.
It's probably your headphones, John.
Can you hear me better now?
There we go.
Yeah.
I got you now. So the first item here is the report regarding consolidated traffic bylaw. Someone care to move that, please? Martin, seconded by Jim. Thank you. Go ahead, John. The floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, basically it's just taking a whole bunch of bylaws we had and consolidating them into one for parking, signage, rate of speed, community safe zones and whatnot. As well as some updated stuff, the electric vehicle parking and the Proton parking lot, as well as some new stop signs that we're installing in a new 60-kilometer-an-hour zone that we're proposing as well.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions from council? Martin, please.
Morning, John. Just a couple. Where it says on the first page, parking, coasting pertaining to skateboard-like conveyances. What is that meaning? Does that mean e-scooters, e-bikes?
That would be my guess. Yeah, sorry, I'm not too sure on that one,
Yeah.
but yeah, just scooters and stuff like that.
Okay. And may I, one more?
Yep, please.
And the new recommendations, Schedule K, all the stop signs and Schedule N, what kind of studies? I imagine you did some studies to lower the 60 to 60 and.
Yeah, so we did set up the traffic counters there to analyze the number of traffic that is up and down those roads and the speed that they're currently traveling at. The one for Uncle Tom Crescent, people were just, it's a residential area and people were going around at fair rate of speed. So just trying to get those stop signs in there to slow them down. And for the speed limit on side road or Southgate Road 26, the main reason we're doing that is because of that, the improvements we've done on the road. It's a nice wide road, but then it still does narrow in on that culvert where the creek crosses. So just to, we've also installed yield to oncoming traffic signs there, but just to help mitigate any issues that there might be there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, John. Any other questions? John, one question I had was the Wilder Lake Road that comes in from Varney.
Yep.
That stretch of road east to the Hunt Club is all 50 kilometers per hour except for the last mile and a quarter. Is that still going forward?
Yeah.
So the last mile and a quarter, which I'll say is west of the Hunt Club, just so I'm oriented.
Yep.
It didn't meet the warrants to reduce the speed on that last 50 kilometers an hour or that last stretch of road?
No, so we had the traffic counter set up there in September, and what we found on there was, I forget the exact numbers, but it was a high percentage of the people were meeting the speed limits. Of what is there now, so.
I guess my concern is that, you know, that stretch of road from the highway into, I forget what the side road is, but the last one before the Hunt Club is 50 kilometers. And then that last mile and a quarter is 80. Why not make it all 50? Just so it's consistent.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's something we could look at, but yeah, as I said, the
warrants didn't,
yeah, the warrants weren't there to drop it at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Last chance. Any other questions? Barb?
More of a comment, and I wanted to thank John for getting back to me, and Jim, even though he's on vacation, with regard to Main Street in Dundalk from Ida past the school. I will, because it's a county road, it needs, the question about community safety zone would need to go to the county. Is that correct, John? Like
Yeah, so we could,
any inquiry would be to the county, right?
well, we could bring forward to you guys in a report about recommending it, but it would also have to go to county council as well, being a county road, to get approval as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk.
Just so council's aware, this is just on for draft. There was a lot of collaborating across departments for this. So there could be some minor changes when the final comes back for consideration. It's also with the province right now for review of the set fines. And sometimes they recommend some changes. So it shouldn't be many, but the final could have some variations from this version.
And because it's with the province, we can expect it back probably August next year.
I mean, actually, they're pretty quick with their review usually of the set fines, but I'm not gonna.
I like your optimism. Okay, not seeing any further questions. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, John. Oh, you got another report yet? That's right. Holstein Pit expansion commencing studies. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Jason. Thank you. John?
So with our recent acquisition of lands to the east of our Holstein gravel pit, we just want to get things going to get the license there. So going through our engineering consultant, they expect just to get the studies going as quick as we can, expecting $17,425 plus HST for 2024, just to get things rolling, and just asking that you approve the funding through the Proton Pit Sales Reserves.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions on that report? Martin, please.
John, with all the permits, are they mandated by the province for giving out the permit? Because I was looking at the geo-optic doing aerial topography. When county has GPS, when the conservation has all that kind of mapping to begin with, Isn't that, can't you use that instead of paying another consultant? I'm okay with it. I'm just wondering when there's always that topographical mapping by county GPS or do they have something that they fly around and like a sonar where they can detect the best spots for the actual gravel underground? Like, I'm
It's
just
probably
wondering why,
just,
just wondering why there's another, it's kind of redundant when there's always maps out there anyway, so.
yeah,
But if
just
it's part of
probably
the, if it's part of the process, John, didn't mean to interrupt you. Then
No,
that's
no,
fine.
that's fine. Sorry. It's just more probably to make sure that they're up-to-date studies that are done. So like the GIS and stuff like that from the county could be outdated and they'll want as much, as current information as possible.
Okay. Any other questions? Call a question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. There's been a request for a recess. So let's do that for, what is it now? It's 11:35. Let's see if we can be back in 5 or so minutes. All right?
Thank you.
Always.
Did you say we're good? Okay, thanks, Holly. We're good to go again. We'll bring the meeting back to order. We're now on to the planning reports. The first one is regarding Ontario Limited, Elias Martin, and Victoria is going to be taking this one. Someone. Okay, motion to go past noon. Is there a seconder? Martin, all those in favor? That is carried. Okay, back to the planning report. Someone care to move that, please? Joan, thank you. Second. Jim, thank you. Victoria, welcome.
Perfect, thank you. I'll jump right in. The applicant's proposing a rezoning to permit an on-farm diversified use. Rezoned area is about 4,831.8 square meters. Would include a metal workshop, 674.5 square meters, 475.65 square meter covered storage, and a 71.37 square meter power room. The rezoning would control the maximum size of the OFDU, regulate the use, and there's some covered storage as well to prohibit the conversion to shop space. And there will be some screening to comply with the D6 guidelines. And the lands were created by a lot line adjustment under file B323 and has approximately 139 meters frontage on Southgate Side Road 75. And it's about 24.5 hectares in lot area. There's some structures on site already, including a primary dwelling, a shed, and a barn, which is going to be demolished and replaced with a barn for horses located to the south of the rezoned area. And just to note, there are comments on page 3 of staff's report, but just to summarize, there were some Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority comments that were received after the writing of this report. Those are available online to review. So staff advised that the proposed development is not within the approximate screening area. And so a permit is not required, and they had no further concerns. As well, there were public comments received from a neighbor who expressed some concern regarding the proposed development in proximity to their property, what buffers will be present to mitigate noise, what the working hours of the operation were, truck traffic concern, and impacts on their property value. I addressed his concerns. He didn't know that the site plan was available online for review and didn't have any further questions. So at this time, staff are recommending the approval of the proposed rezoning to permit the OFDU. And as we all know, the OFDUs are strongly encouraged by provincial policy and guidelines for use of prime agricultural lands, which helps supplement farm income and support the agricultural community. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions from council? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. The next is the bylaw to enable the zoning bylaw. Need a mover and seconder. Do we need to halt while the clerk comes back, or?
Clerk is just getting contact information. She'll be right back, but I can stand in.
Okay, good. All right. Martin's going to move. Jim will second. Any further comments on the bylaw, Victoria?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? All those in favor? That is carried. The next is the zoning bylaw amendment application from Manassas S. Martin. Someone care to move it? Jason and Joan. Victoria, please.
Thank you. And again, OFDU to rezone and permit an on-farm diversified use. The square meter of the rezone area is about 6,744. We have a 675 square meter dry industrial workshop, 500 square meter outdoor storage area, and a 75 square meter power room. So again, it's to permit the maximum size of the OFDU, ensure the shop is secondary to the prime agricultural use on site, and it will be screened to comply with the D6 guidelines. The subject lands have about 405 meters on Southgate Side Road 71. And it's about 40 hectares in area. There's some existing structures, which include 2 barns, a farmhouse, and 1 barn will be converted to a beef barn. And the second will remain agricultural storage or a horse shed. And the farmhouse will be demolished and replaced with a dwelling located to the south of the rezoned area. Comments received to note are found on page 4 of staff's report. Again, the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority comments recommend, or for this one, they're recommending the EP zone be revised to coincide with the SVCA hazard lands based on a previous site visit and further review.
but do advise that a permit will not be required. We've also included the SVCA updated mapping on page 8 of the report. And at this time, we're recommending approval of the proposed rezoning to permit the OFDU on site. And again, OFDUs are strongly encouraged by provincial policy guidelines for use of prime agricultural lands to help supplement farm income and support the agricultural community. Happy to answer any questions on this one as well.
Thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions from council? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Next is the bylaw that goes with that zoning bylaw amendment. Barb will move, seconded by Martin. Thank you. Any further comments, Victoria?
No, thank you, Mayor Mill.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Wait, I gotta get the right page turned over here. Next is site plan agreement for Tubegate Incorporated. Someone care to move that, please? Jim and Joan, and I understand Mr. White will be taking this one. Welcome, Bill. Floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, Mayor Milne, members of council. This application for site plan approval is by Tubegate Inc. It's for property located at 260-0219 Southgate Road 26. This was subject to rezoning bylaw 2024-109, again for an on-farm diversified use. Site plan approval, as you well know, is a delegated authority. At this time, we are still bringing bylaws authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign site plan agreements to council for approval. There's copies of the site plan attached to the report, so you can see it has a traditional layout with the buffering and screening. There are provisions in the site plan agreement to ensure that screening is in place, as well as to deal with the noise separation requirements that are ever present in these kinds of applications. We believe it complies with provincial planning policy and has been reviewed by county and township staff, and we're recommending you consider adopting the bylaw to authorize the site plan agreement.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill on that one from council? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We're on to the bylaw that goes with that. Someone care to move? Jim, second by Joan. Thank you. Any further discussion on the bylaw, Bill?
No, Mayor Milne.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the servicing agreement and final capacity allocation agreement for 221 Doyle Street report. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Jim. Thank you. Bill, you're taking this one as well?
Yes, Mayor Milne, thank you. This is these two agreements are a result of the rezoning application at 221 Doyle Street. As council will recall, this property has frontage on both Doyle and Artemisia Street. It was for 8 back-to-back rental townhouses. This was a new form of development, and we included a definition of back-to-back townhouses in the zoning amendment that was approved for this property. We also had an option for there to be some landscape space between the two units, but they chose to continue with their back-to-back layout, which is complying with the zoning bylaw. Because site plan or developments such as this are not subject to site plan control anymore under provincial mandate, it's less than 10 units. There is no site plan agreement to sign in this case. So there is a holding provision on the zoning right now. 2 conditions needed to be met. One required the lands to be consolidated into a single parcel, which that has been completed. And the second was to sign the servicing agreement, which is before you this morning. The design of the connections was important in this case because we wanted to ensure these are rental units. So the Public Works and Triton Engineering side have reviewed that connection details and have developed a cost estimate, and this agreement will require the owner to comply with the estimate and to install the services under the guidance of an engineer according to the standard provisions in this agreement. They're also required to pay for all the consulting engineering costs and of course the cost of the installation of these works. The allocation agreement is a standard requirement for developments of this size, and I think it's 8 units that are being allocated to this project. They're required to sign these agreements, as are most developers, and I believe the allocation is for up to 3 years, I believe. So with any luck, they could get the building permits, if not this year, early in the spring, to get started on this needed rental housing. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bill. Are there any questions from council? Not seeing any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on to the accompanying bylaw. Someone move that, please. Jim, seconded by Barb. Thank you. Anything further on the bylaw, Bill?
No, Mayor Milne.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? All those in favor? That is carried. So moving on to the bylaw that will give the final capacity allocation agreement for the zoning bylaw amendment for 221 Doyle Street. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Martin. Thank you. Anything to add, Bill?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions from council? All those in favor? That is carried. That's it for the planning department. That went very well. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Victoria, and thank you, Ken.
Thank you all.
Bylaws and motions. We have a bylaw here to appoint our chief building official, Phil Schramm. Someone care to move that, please? Barb, seconded by Martin. Thank you. Any questions from council? Barb.
Through you to, I guess, the CAO. Will this remove the requirement for the consulting services? I think it's RSM.
Dina?
At this time, we are still short staffed, so no, it will not.
Any other questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Sorry, Joan? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate. I will vote for that. Opposed, if any? Barb would like a recorded vote, please. Madam Clerk?
A recorded vote has been called for item, sorry, this is not the right spot. For item 10.1, bylaw 2024-129 to appoint chief building official. Deputy Mayor Dobreen?
Yes.
Councillor Singh Soares?
Yes.
Mayor Milne?
Yay.
Councillor Ferguson?
No.
Councillor Shipston?
Yay.
Councillor Rice?
No.
Councillor John? By a vote of 5 to 2, that's carried.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Amending purchase and sale agreement for 2921921 Ontario Incorporated. It's a bylaw. Someone care to move that, please? Joan, seconded by. Do I have a seconder? Barb, thank you. Any questions from council? Call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Notice of motion. We have a notice of motion here from the Deputy Mayor Dobreen regarding OPP billing and the call for provincial funding support. I'm presuming Barb, you will move that.
Would like to move that, yes.
Very good. Is there a seconder? Martin will second that. Barb, you'd like to speak to that, please?
Thank you. And through you, I'm not going to read the entire motion. It's been there for anyone to read in the essence of time. But given that we have received our letter from the OPP with regard to the billing, and putting my Association of Municipalities of Ontario viewpoint, 323 municipalities rely on OPP services. And there are many, if not all, who are faced with billings increases in excess of 20%. Some 37% is Collingwood, 30% is Brockton, 24% is Napanee. And in some cases, that equates, in the case of Napanee, to something like a 6.5% property tax hike. For us, it will, if my calculations are correct, because I don't know what our 1% will equate to this time around, but it's in around 2% tax hike, property tax hike, before we even get into cost of living. And this resolution is circulating throughout the province, calling on the province to standardize the billing and support the municipalities by taking back that responsibility. So I look to council for their consideration to just elevate this concern. There will be delegations at Roma. This is on the Roma board agenda this month, and it will be on the AMO board agenda this month. I wanted to take the opportunity to move it forward now, and I understand from our CAO that it is being widely circulated among other municipalities, and councils are supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Any questions on this one? Monica, please.
Yes, thank you. Just through you, Chair, with regards to that, as a member of the OPP Detachment Board, I do see firsthand how critical sustainable funding is for small rural municipalities like Southgate. So unlike larger cities, we do rely heavily on limited property tax, so fund essential services and infrastructure and costs of OPP services adds to a considerable strain. There was a resolution that I was going to be pulling, but because Deputy Mayor has already done a great notice of motion to that effect that's actually more detailed and goes further. I'm really thankful for that. And just to end off on that, reabsorbing these policing costs into provincial budget would provide essential relief, allowing us to focus on local infrastructure and service that benefit our residents. So this motion, it simply calls for fair and balanced support across Ontario. And I do encourage council, along with Deputy Mayor, to join in advocating for a more equitable approach to provincial funding.
Thank you, Monica. Any other questions, comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Barb. Consent items. We have 3 items there under regular business. Was there a need to remove any of those for further direction? Not seeing any. I'll take a motion to receive the 3. Martin, seconded by Barb. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. Correspondence for information. There are 5 there. Is there a need to remove any of those for further direction? I need a motion to receive. Jim, seconded by Jason. Questions? Joan? You're all those in favor? That is carried. Very good. Resolutions of other municipalities for information. Is there a need to remove any of those for further direction? There's 5 there. Not seeing any. I'll take a motion to receive. Jim and Barb. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is carried. We don't have any closed session regarding the items above. County report. Barb, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Actually, not so much about our council meeting. It can be viewed online at any time. But Grey Roots Museum and Archives are celebrating 20th anniversary with a gala this Friday. And I know that that was spoken about at our county council. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. Any questions regarding county? I'm sure most, if not all of us, saw the press release that the roundabout at Grey County Roads 3 and 4 is now open and functioning. That was the most dangerous intersection in the county. It had most accidents and fatalities over the years, so hopefully that roundabout, and it should, reduce those numbers dramatically. Okay, members' privilege. Anybody have anything to share?
Yes.
Martin, please. Oh, and then Monica.
Yeah, the blood donor clinic was past Saturday and 124 appointments. And with the normal attrition with safety protocols and a few that didn't show up, they still went way over their benchmark figure and 104 donations.
Excellent.
So I don't know how they say or what they do, but they do say with one donation, it can save 3 lives. So what they do to do that, I don't know, but it was everybody's quite happy.
Excellent. Good. Good. And thank you to all that supported that blood clinic. Joan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The library will be having an Authors Day on Saturday from 9 to 12. We have 3 great authors that will be there showcasing their books. So it would be a great idea to come out.
Very good. Thank you, Joan. Monica, please.
Thank you. So just to continue with spreading the light, we had a really great celebration for Diwali in Dundalk, which is a festival of lights, unity and joy. Just the word Diwali itself means row of lights. Some people ask what that means. So I'm just thrilled to share the joy of celebrating Diwali this October with so many wonderful residents in Dundalk. Diwali, the festival of lights, it's a time to come together, light up our homes, hearts, and embrace the spirit of hope, renewal, and kindness. It was truly heartwarming to see how Diwali transcends borders, cultures, faiths, uniting us all with this message of peace and goodwill. The celebrations did remind us of the power of community and the importance of spreading the light and positivity in our world. So I just want to thank everyone who participated in making this Diwali a memorable one. May the light of Diwali continue to inspire us all and strengthen our bonds across the community, bringing happiness, prosperity, and harmony to all. I want to wish the council, each one of you, a very happy Diwali, and to everyone who's in the room and everyone listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monica. And I'm sorry I didn't get to that event. I was at a Diwali event in Owen Sound the previous evening. So happy Diwali to everybody.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other news or celebrations? Nope. Okay. Confirming bylaw. Someone care to move? Jim, seconded by Jason. Thank you. Discussion? All in favor? One more motion? Monica, to adjourn, seconder. Jim, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.